Hello. Look into my beautiful eyes. Welcome to Recollection from the Prayer Recollection.
We're back.
I'm Anna.
I'm Martha.
And today we're finishing the section we started yesterday.
And this is part 2 of today.
Or are we going to post them on the same day?
Probably.
We're finishing part 2 of the section we started earlier.
Yes. Today is August 14th, 2020. And we are, in this vlog, we are looking at John 11, 33
through 44.
Yes. All right.
You sounded surprised, but I knew.
Do we need to do a review?
Yeah, let's do a brief review.
Brief review.
Okay. Speed round. Here's the list of things. Lazarus was sick. Jesus went to see Lazarus. Everyone was like, oh, if Jesus... He waited
2 days.
2 days. He went to see Lazarus. Everyone was like, oh, if only you had been there.
Mm-hmm.
Martha tried to politely ask him to raise Lazarus. He said Lazarus will be resurrected. And Mary said, yeah. Martha said, yeah, on the last day. Then they were like, oh, Mary, Jesus is here. And now Mary ran out of the house crying, and she's like, oh, if only you had been there.
All right. So here we pick up.
That is the list.
That's the list. Picking up on verse 33. When Jesus saw her weeping and saw the other people wailing with her, a deep anger welled up within him, and he was deeply troubled. Where have you put him?
Someone feels an
He asked
earthquake.
them. Now, for those of you raised on the NIV like myself,
That was the deep anger shaking the candle.
the earthquake anger.
The earthquake anger.
If you were raised on the NIV like I was, I don't even think it says anger here. It just says he was deeply troubled.
Martha has it highlighted in her little book.
I have it
It's not a
highlighted.
little book. It's
a big book. So this is what's interesting, you guys. Try to unpack that. Why was Jesus? He was like enraged. Like, what would make Jesus so angry?
What were my
Theories?
guesses?
Oh my goodness, you had a lot of guesses.
I guessed a lot of things in a row.
Adam. You guessed Adam.
The morning people for crying so loudly.
The people were too loud.
Lazarus.
Yeah, mad at Lazarus for
Dying.
mad at
Himself
for not getting there in time.
And then I made it to the answer that I think is right. Satan. The father of death.
That's right. I think he's mad at Satan, the father of death. Commentaries were a little mixed about this, but that's what I believe too.
It's our head canon.
Is our head canon.
That's apparently becoming
Oh, there's a post-it on
a
there.
common term around here. What's it supposed to say?
I don't know. That has one of our verses on it. This is the commentary that it talks extensively about this section. A lot.
It talks extensively
There's
about
a lot more in
every
here
section.
than there is in the section. Anyway,
Would you guys like a brief preview?
that's just about John, you guys.
This is just John. The message of John. There's so much in here about every section, and especially this one.
So anyway, he talked a lot about Jesus' anger. Of course, my NIV commentary didn't mention the anger at all because
Which
the NIV doesn't translate
version is this on? Or every version?
that. I don't know. I think I looked it up once, but I can't remember.
It doesn't say anywhere, does it? It must.
You can figure that out while we're talking.
I know it's not.
So it was very interesting to think about, and it makes sense to me, right? Because who is Jesus' biggest enemy? It's Satan. Who is the father of death? Satan. Look at how death is ravaging people and making them so sad and grief-stricken.
Jesus is sad that his children are sad.
And
He's troubled.
And one of the commentary talked a little bit about how he kind of needed to have this enragement,
This enragedness.
come up within him because it was preparing him for the battle. He was
This
about
rage.
rage.
This rage is the word.
This rage, right? We can go with that. Because it's preparing him for the battle he's taking on with Satan, and it's going to be the most epic battle of history, the hardest thing
Epic rap battle.
anyone has
Not
ever,
that.
not that, hardest thing
That'd
anyone
be
has
funny,
ever done, and he has to have this sort of rage against Satan to go through what he's going to go through.
I like this part.
This is good.
I'm good at having rage. I'm good at being angry. I have lots of rage.
Yeah. Yep.
Mostly when I'm hungry.
Yeah, angry all the way. So, moving on, it says...
Well, sometimes when I'm not angry. I mean, not when I'm not hungry.
That's true.
Anyway.
They told him, Lord, come and see. Then Jesus wept. Shortest verse in the Bible.
Jesus wept, say some versions.
Yes. And it's interesting here, it puts it in a different light. Surely he's crying out of sympathy and sadness for the people he loves, but I think there's got to still be rage in that weeping too.
Especially because it says,
yeah, where we're coming, I know what you're about to say.
That he's angry again later.
We're just about
so
to read it.
Still angry. Okay, so he's angry crying. I'm very good at angry crying.
And it's so interesting too, like, why did he wait till now to weep? You know, he comes, he sees them, he gets angry, he asks where they put him, which I assume he's kind of like roaring when he asks that because he's so mad, right? And they say, Lord, come and see. And then Jesus weeps.
Maybe he just that his anger spilled over.
Yeah, maybe.
That happens to me a lot.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The people who were standing nearby said, see how much he loved him? So that's the answer, that's the hypothesis that he's grieving and he's sad for Lazarus or the
even
people
angry. That's a stage of grief.
That's true, anger is a stage of grief. But some said, this man healed a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?
So that's the he's mad at himself theory.
Yeah, like he doesn't have power and he's resentful of death. But I think that what's interesting is that I almost kind of feel like it's flipped of what these people are saying, right? So they're saying he's angry because he's powerless over death. You know, like we all feel that way, don't we? I mean, if you lose someone you love, you're going to feel powerless over death.
Or even when you just feel powerless and you feel angry.
Yeah. But Jesus is angry at
he's not powerless.
He's not powerless.
Ever.
True, ever. Well, until he chooses powerlessness.
But he's not powerless.
Yeah.
He chooses to give up his
He
power.
released his power. And he's angry at his opponent, and he is, so his anger and his weeping is actually
fueling his,
it's the uprising of
revenge.
His power. Yeah. His fight.
Yeah.
So his power is rising up within him
it's
against.
bubbling up.
So while they think he's not
welling
powerful,
up within him.
he actually is bringing it on. He's getting ready to bring it on.
He's turning up the power.
Yes.
So Jesus was an emotional guy.
He was. You see the humanity of Jesus
He gets angry and he does angry things.
So this is what is interesting to me. I want to speak to that because I
no
think
one
that's
ever
a really
talks about the fact that he's angry during the story.
yeah.
Like the table flipping one.
Yeah, it's another good one.
They talk about that.
That's true.
But they never talk about this.
That's because the NIV doesn't even say it. If I'm wrong,
but
tell me in the
says
comments.
angry multiple times.
We're not in the NIV. We're not in the NIV.
It's removed all the angry references?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
we'll double check that. And if we're
dumb.
wrong, you can tell us.
Well, maybe we'll tell ourselves. I can look.
Okay, you look while I'm talking because I want to talk about, but don't miss what I'm saying. Because this
We have
is
an
important.
NIV right here.
So this
We
is
have a lot of Bibles.
my theory or belief, I guess you would call it, is that our emotions are the clue to what motivates us and what's important to us. And it's not like Are you really listening?
Yes.
Is that a true?
That was a true one.
Okay. It's not like anger is bad, but it usually, for me, and I think most of us, is bad because what motivates me is not, I mean, at my core base nature, is not
Whoa!
holy. Just a minute, let me
They
finish my thought.
split it into 3 sections in the NIV almost exactly the way we split it.
That's just a gift of Jesus because it was no intelligence on my or our part.
We just tried to stop at good stopping points.
Yeah. Like half, part way through. So,
Anyway,
so what I'm saying here is, if what you're motivated by is holiness and anger towards Satan, then when you get angry, it will be against evil things and bad things. But if you're motivated by your own selfish ambitions, when you get angry, it will be to get your own way, and it will show your true deep motivation. So anger is a great way to start seeing what Jesus needs to purify down inside you, for those of us who aren't that far changed by him yet. I mean, there will be a day, I believe, when what makes us angry will be the things of Jesus.
You're always going to have little things you get angry at that are selfishly motivated. Probably forever, because you're still going to be human.
I know, but
you're still going to have moments of weakness.
You will have some moments of weakness, but I think those moments will become few and far between.
But that's just when you need to purify yourself. It's still true, even if you're not. No matter how far along you are.
No, but as you get farther along, the things that will make you angry will be the injustices of Satan.
Yeah, but it'll be a mix. It'll never be 100% God, is what I'm saying.
No, that's true. But it's going to get a lot closer.
Okay.
I think that there's a myth that some Christians have believed, and myself historically, that we're not going to get victory over our sins, that we can't live a significant amount of our life basically sinless, that we're just always going to be broken and sinful. I mean, we always will have some sins, but that we could go whole days without sinning, completely in unity with Jesus and powered by him. So, that's that thought. Okay, Anna's looking. Have you found? Oh, she's still cross-checking us. So, maybe I'll go on and read.
Every time it says angry, it says deeply moved.
See?
In the NIV. There is no reference to anger.
That's why you never hear about angry in this, I think. Because apparently some very popular translations don't mention it. She does not like that.
See?
Okay, so listen to this. This verse, I don't think we've read this yet, but Anna...
It's like it was a baby.
Anna alluded to this. Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb. A cave with a stone rolled across its entrance.
So, he was probably angry crying when he was crying before, because he was angry, and then he was crying, and then he was still angry.
Yeah,
so
I agree. Roll the stone aside, Jesus told them. I imagine he roared that, too. And now we circle back to...
That was more of a bark.
That's okay.
We circle back to
where we left off with Martha. Remember where we left off with Martha? What Jesus asked her? He said, do you believe this,
Martha? I'm getting tired, Martha.
I know, it's getting late. You can hang in there. We're almost done, babe.
I'm dying, babe.
But Martha, the dead man's sister, not quite sure why I called her that. I'm sure there's a literary reason.
Maybe it was different. It made more sense in their culture, in their translation.
Maybe. If you have any thoughts on that, you can sure let us know in the comments.
Or maybe that's just how they wrote in that time. When you brought someone back, you need to remind who they are. I don't know.
But Martha, the dead man's sister...
Don't laugh at me. I'm serious.
When you brought someone back from the dead?
No.
Oh, in the story. I'm like, well, how many times do we bring people back from the dead in that culture? No. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested, Lord, he's been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible.
She makes a good point.
She makes a point, but the point kind of sounds like...
I don't believe that you are the resurrection and the life.
She did not believe he was the resurrection and the life. But I'm not going to judge Mary. We're going to come, Martha. We're going to come back to that at the end here. I'm going to circle back to that.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little meditative moment on that one. Okay. Jesus responded, didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?
So they rolled the stone aside.
But look at this, you guys.
That's funny to me.
This is so backwards of the way we think. You would see God's glory if you believe. It didn't say...
A, Jesus loves faith.
Yes. And B,
we do not love faith.
It didn't say you can believe if you see God's glory.
Do you see how it happened there?
See that?
So, when we say, I'll believe if God does this or whatever.
I don't feel like I feel God. I don't feel like I've ever experienced God. I don't ever hear.
That's okay. That's normal.
That's normal.
Do not be alarmed.
Do not be alarmed. But
It's okay to not feel God. You have to take steps first. Steps of faith.
Steps of faith in your belief.
Yes.
And obedience.
Yes.
Because of your belief.
What are your true beliefs? You have to know the truth. Because Martha here says, yes, I believe. But does she believe? You tell me.
That's exactly the point. Let's just stop and do the meditation moment right now.
Okay. It's time to meditate.
It's time to meditate.
Put on your meditation hat. Mine was a fedora.
I had no hat in mine. I don't visualize anything.
Maybe yours was your Cubs hat.
Yeah, mine was my Cubs hat.
Okay, anyway.
So, this is the question that really is an interesting question because you see, Martha did believe. She really did believe that he was the Messiah and the Son of God and the one who has come into the world from God. She believed
But that was
all
not the question.
So, we're like that too, though, right? Like, we believe, but we don't completely believe.
There's some little thing.
Especially...
You're like, you can do this, but maybe not that.
And I think that not believing, for me, a lot of times is expressed in not really giving myself completely to Jesus. So for me, that's in my thought life. When I try to start following my own to-do lists and my own get it done and try to control the people around me and make sure everything's and I'm not realizing that he is my resurrection in my life. Not me, not my productivity, not my ability to control, not my lists. That's
not even her list.
No, not even my list. Those are not my productivity in my life. So, here's the question.
Wait,
go. Yes, you talk.
I've been waiting to talk and there's been no entry.
I wouldn't stop talking.
No, you would not. Anyway, okay, I love you.
I love you, Anna.
Anyway, I'm not very Jesus-y. I'm not very far on my journey. I'm very good at thinking.
She's a great thinker. Great thinker.
I only got that because of my lovely mother
And father.
And father.
He's a good thinker.
He's a very good thinker.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I am very good at thinking, but am I good at believing? Not as much. I'm sure there are other people like me.
Yes. I think that's very, very common. That's normal.
If you have tips, tell me in the comments.
So, on those lines, this is the meditation question.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. You can journal about this. You can pray out loud. You can just think to yourself. But the question is, where in your life do you see evidence that you don't believe? You can also see evidence where you do believe. You maybe want to make a 2-column list because it's not exclusive, but that it's just that you don't believe. But those are the areas that you want to tackle. That's where you're going to get more freedom.
Sometimes, if you're me, it's everywhere.
I don't think it's everywhere with you.
Almost everywhere.
I don't think that either, but you know your heart.
I can't think of anywhere that I do believe. But alas, I am not making a list. So maybe if I made one, it would be different.
Right. Maybe it would.
If you're making a list, think hard. Because maybe it's different than your initial thoughts.
Yes, it may be. And that's a good point. These kinds of questions aren't something, they're not like something you get done and you go, check, done. That's like how I like. That's like Carissa. We're reading a book called Sensible
Sensible
Shoes.
Shoes, written by a lady who went to one of Martha's, who ran one of Martha's retreats that she went to.
Mhm.
And we're actually really liking it so far.
Mhm.
We haven't read the whole thing. We're actually not even that far.
Mhm.
It feels like we're far, but we're not that far. And one of the characters we really relate to.
Yeah.
I would recommend it so far. If you want to look at it, if you like reading, I think you should check it out.
Sharon Garlow Brown, I believe, is the author.
I think you're right. And Garlow, I'll put it on the screen. I'll put the spelling on the screen.
Okay. Or we can put it in
Put
the link.
links in the
We'll
description.
put links in the description.
If you want to look at the book, we'll put links in the description.
So we're talking about the character Carissa. What were we saying about Carissa?
Let's not spoil anything.
Okay.
But basically, that she's good at thinking, but not as good at believing.
Oh, yeah. It's up here, but it doesn't come down here. So, anyway, I love that Anna is really, like, wrestling that, like, trying to be aware of
I'm
that.
not really listening.
Yeah, you are.
It is what it is.
Well, you're wrestling it like you're aware of it. You're not, like, hiding it from
Ignoring
yourself.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
I
that's
spent
true.
a huge amount of my life hiding that from myself.
Well, you hide everything from yourself.
That's true.
That's okay. You made it here now, and that is the only thing you can control is right now.
That's true. But God, I think God's gonna
God led you.
infuse you. You know what I mean? Man, He's just gonna light your fire and
Light my Jesus candle.
you're gonna look like that drawing.
I'm gonna get new batteries in my candle.
We put new batteries in our Jesus candle tonight.
I can't get
So
it
good.
in a place. where
So,
you can-
anyways, we're detracting from the meditative moment a little bit. There's pancakes don't go on a plate in the fridge. Pancakes go on a plate on the counter or on the table, but when you're putting them. So, go ahead and take your meditative moment, and you can
Okay,
think
pause.
about pause and work on where do I believe and where do I not believe, because those are the areas where you can really
Make
start
yourself a little
praying.
list.
And you know I love lists.
Martha loves lists.
And those are the areas where God can really help you. So, go ahead and pause. Welcome back.
Welcome back. I hit the wall.
You hit the what?
The wall.
The wolf?
I don't know what it means.
I haven't
You
heard
just
that.
do it.
Okay.
If it is something bad,
Then just forget that she just said that.
well, then we're putting a new meaning to it.
Okay. All right. I like that. Jesus responded. Now I already read this, but we're just circling back because
We're
stopped.
debriefing.
We're debriefing. Jesus responded, "Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?"
So they rolled the stone aside.
So they rolled the stone aside.
I like that's so funny to me. But they're like, oh, the smell's gonna be pretty bad. And he's like, don't you want to see God's glory? And then they just roll the stone aside with no more complaints.
That's it. They're like, man, he was so mad.
They
They're
were-
going to do whatever.
They were very obedient. And
Yes,
that's
and
good.
compliant, yes.
That's what Jesus liked.
Then Jesus,
Trust and obey.
this is a good prayer. Listen to this. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, "Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me." He didn't use this place. I think he's probably still mad.
This is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
You always hear me, but I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they will believe you sent me. Commentary?
We're watching The Chosen, and there's one part where there are two little kids standing behind the
Oh,
wall,
yeah.
watching Jesus, and Jesus is praying, and he goes, "Dear God, thank you for my meal, and thank you for, I don't know what
else.
And if there are two little children hiding behind the stone wall, please help them to have the courage to come out and say shalom." Amen.
It was so cute, you
And the
guys.
kids were like,
Yeah.
and then they came out.
They did come out.
It was so cute.
Then Jesus
Lizzie
shouted.
just yelled, "Mom."
No, it's okay. She'll be alright. Do we need to pause here? Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out!"
Am I making banana bread or muffins?
You pick. She's making me banana bread or muffins. Lazarus, come out! You can imagine the yelling in that too, right? He yelled that. And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave clothes, and his face wrapped in a headcloth.
I can't see.
And Jesus told them, unwrap him and let him go.
Tell them about him, how tight the grave cloth.
Yeah, one commentary said that the grave clothes would have been so tight that he wouldn't have been able to walk, that they bound their legs like super straight, and for some reason they didn't want the chin coming down. They wanted it to stay. I guess it would be weird to have a skull with the chin hanging down.
Maybe so it didn't fall off.
Anyway, they said it would take a miracle for him to come out, that he could not move himself out. That's interesting. Another commentary said, well, that it would have been bound tight, but he would have been able to like hop or kind of scooch his way out.
Maybe they would have been slightly loosened while he was decaying. You know?
Slightly what?
Loosened while
Oh
he
yeah,
was
sure. I bet
decaying.
it would loosen while he was decaying.
But I don't know.
I think they wanted those bones to dry really straight. I guess. I
When
don't
he
know.
was restored, would it just be tight again? I don't know. I've never been buried before.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Thankfully.
Dodged a bullet there.
Literally. So anyway, that's a
If we put our heads
interesting
up,
scene.
we've got just like a nice little glow back here.
Oh, would we do what with our heads?
If we just put them into this angle, it's just like a nice glow behind
That
us.
is so nice. All right. Anything else, Anna? I think we're.
We finished the
We
section.
finished
We did
it. We did it. Yay!
Yay! The harmony.
Yeah, we had a little harmony. All right. You guys, we love you.
Oh, unison.
Unison hands.
Synchronized.
Synchronized hands. We praise you, Jesus.
Bye.